The state of Massachusetts now on a collision course with ice. Good morning, Kuhner country. Okay, my friends, holy shamoly. This story, forget local, forget being a big story across the state, obviously. This is now a huge, huge national story. It has gone all the way up now to President Trump, the Department of Justice, the Department of Homeland Security. We are now in the midst of a war. There's no other way to put it. A political, cultural, social war between ICE and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Let me just say right out of the gate, okay? Right out of the gate, I want to commend the incredible bravery and heroism of the ICE agents who performed an incredible job over the weekend. The largest enforcement operation ever so far was conducted in Massachusetts. It had previously been in Florida. Florida had previously had the biggest immigration enforcement so far. It was called Operation Tidal Wave. About 1,100 illegal aliens were arrested using over a dozen ICE teams. Over the weekend, it was a 4-day operation. 19 ICE teams, 19 of them, arrested nearly 1,500 illegal aliens. To be specific, 1,461 illegals. They were arrested not just in the greater Boston area. They hit Springfield, they hit Lowell, they hit Worcester, they hit communities all across the Commonwealth. Springfield, as I mentioned, they hit communities all across the greater Boston area, all across the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Now, in particular, this is where this gets absolutely now insane. And something needs to be done. We are now approaching, there's no other way to say it, a standoff. I want you to listen, please. You got to pay attention. This is molto importante. 790 of those illegal aliens that were arrested were murderers. This is in Massachusetts alone. Were murderers, rapists, drug dealers, some of them fentanyl traffickers, and child molesters and child rapists. Over nearly 800 of them had criminal convictions. One of them, in fact, was literally a mass murderer, wanted on multiple murders in another country who came into this country. Or they had criminal charges pending against them. You would think ICE would get a big thank you from Maura Healey, a big thank you from Boston Mayor Michelle Wu. No. As ICE pointed out, there was a fundamental difference between the huge operation they recently did in Florida and the one they just did in Massachusetts. Here in Massachusetts, they faced constant, relentless opposition from Governor Healey, from Mayor Wu, from local law enforcement, from local communities, from state agencies. They said every day they made their jobs almost unbearable. It was constant opposition, interference, disruption. They were on the side of these criminals. ICE was put in very dangerous situations. Their agents were exposed because they were running into constant opposition and blockades from local officials, local communities, and of course it goes all the way up to the mayor and to the governor. Now, in particular, I want you to listen to this. This is unbelievable. In the sanctuary city of Somerville, which we have a huge audience, national audience, basically a suburb of Boston. Okay, let's just put it that way. Where I'm broadcasting now is 5 minutes away from Somerville, which is 5 minutes away from Boston. So it's mostly an urban area, but it's a suburb of Boston. And across from a school from a school, there was a murderer who was staying at a home. ICE agents were doing and conducting surveillance. They wanted to make sure that that murderer was in that home so they could go in and make an arrest. Now remember, this is a criminal illegal alien. He is a murderer. Literally, this operation was being done maybe 100 feet from a school. Children could have been killed if this operation went bad. Anti-ICE activists spotted the ICE vehicle and then approached it, surrounded it, started to yell, scream, shout, ICE, ICE, ICE. And because of this, ICE agents had to abandon their surveillance and they were prevented from making an arrest. As the ICE agents said, they couldn't believe it. These anti-ICE pro-criminal activists in the sanctuary city of Somerville shielded, their words, they shielded a killer. They literally prevented ICE from arresting a murderer. And to add insult to injury, not only did they prevent this murderer from being captured, detained, and arrested, got away scot-free. There's now a murderer roaming. I don't know if he's still in Somerville. God knows where this person is now, but it's somewhere here in the greater Boston area because these scumbags, egged on by Healey, egged on by Wu, egged on by the crazy sanctuary city mayor of Somerville, Katjana Ballantine, I believe is how you pronounce her last name. So Katjana Ballantine, all of these moonbats in this state, egging them on. And now they have coddled, shielded, and protected a murderer from being captured. And to add insult to injury, this clown, one of them, the leader, the ringleader, goes on social media, posts a video, and is bragging about what he and his fellow pro-criminal activists did. Listen to this clown telling people, we just stopped ICE, and I'm urging all of you, anytime you see ICE trying to conduct a raid or conduct an arrest, do what we did. Surround them, block them, yell, scream, prevent them from enforcing the law and arresting these dangerous criminals. Roll cut 1A, Mike.
ICE just tried to abduct a bunch of kids and parents right here at Somerville High School, and so many community members showed up that ICE just left. Remember, you are the major power in your community. If you show up with people you trust quickly, you can protect kids, you can protect families. So form information networks, know where ICE is in your community, and show up. They will just leave. They are not brave enough to steal kids when an entire community comes around to protect them. So show up for the kids.
Now, so I want this guy arrested. I don't care what it takes. I don't care how many resources. I don't care how many agents. I don't care how many prosecutors. I don't care how much money it takes. This clown, this punk, this idiot needs to be arrested. First of all, they were not going there to quote unquote kidnap kids from a high school. Okay? They were there to arrest a murderer. Okay? Number one, from across a school. God knows he may have wanted to kill some of the kids. But let that go. Just let that go. You are now going to obstruct federal law enforcement? You are literally shielding a criminal from being arrested? You're aiding and abetting a criminal and helping that person escape law enforcement and escape arrest? That's a crime, my friend. In fact, those are multiple crimes. And so, as I said on X, and I want to repeat it now, where's Pam Bondi? Where's the Department of Justice? Where's the Department of Homeland Security? These people are making it difficult for ICE to conduct their job, and they're lucky that this murderer, they tipped him off and he managed to escape. What if he didn't escape? What if he didn't run? What if he didn't flee? What if this guy had a gun and said, you know what? The hell with it. ICE is out there. I'm going to take a few with me before I go down. They are literally putting the lives of ICE agents in danger and in jeopardy. I want this punk and every single anti-ICE activist involved in preventing the arrest of this murderer. I want them arrested on the spot. It is time to send a message. This is not okay. And the reason why they keep doing it, and notice now they're getting more emboldened. Now they're saying, everybody in the community, just come on out. Prevent ICE from arresting people, because there has been no consequences so far. Throw this punk's ass in jail, and believe me, you'll see a very different attitude. 618 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer, cleaning up the liberal bull. Okay, 617-266-6868. Once we load up the phone lines, I want to take the calls. I want to go to the great callers of Kuhner Country. So let me just play this very quick clip. This is Bill Melugin, Fox News. He was embedded, as I said, this is a massive national story. He was embedded with an ICE team during Operation Patriot, which is now, so far anyway, it is the largest, biggest immigration enforcement action ever taken so far. They've arrested in a matter of 4 days. It took them several weeks to get the teams in place, but they arrested in a matter of 4 days 1,461, basically nearly 1,500 illegal aliens. 790 of them are hardcore criminals convicted of some of the most heinous crimes or charged with some of the most heinous crimes. Listen now to Bill Melugin say, in one case in particular, they couldn't believe the constant opposition they kept getting. They were conducting surveillance of a known murderer, an illegal alien, hiding out in a home across from a school. Anti-ICE activists spotted these ICE agents and then blew their cover, running up to them, surrounding the vehicle, yelling, screaming, ICE, 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 ICE. In fact, even preventing them from getting out of the car. And once their cover was blown, they had to abandon their surveillance, and the murderer got away. And this punk, one of the ringleaders, as I played just before the break, literally brags about it on social media, on video, posting a video, and urging, saying we have to do this for every ICE raid, every ICE arrest, in every community across Massachusetts. Listen now to Bill Melugin. And what stunned Melugin, and frankly ICE agents, is they kept saying this was a murderer. Over and over, I repeat, a murderer. Listen now to Bill Melugin. Roll cut 1, Mike.
Then in a second incident yesterday, ICE says they were surveilling a murderer's home in their car when a crowd surrounded their vehicle, blew their cover, and they had to pull off the target. Again, a murderer.
Wow. You can't make this up. You can't make this up. And let me say this again now, okay? Because again, this bears repeating. The ICE agents were magnificent. But as they said at the press conference recently when they made this big announcement about Operation Patriot and all of these illegal aliens they rounded up, they said, unlike in Florida and unlike in other states, local officials, mayors, sanctuary cities, local law enforcement, because they're under orders, and of course the governor, Healey, hold it Healey, fought them tooth and nail every step of the way. They faced constant opposition, constant obstruction, constant lack of cooperation. And on top of that, anti-ICE activists harassed them every single time they tried to make an arrest. Every single time. And they said we would have gotten many more criminal illegal aliens. But because of actions like this, we were prevented and they got away. And so what ICE agents concluded, to their shock and horror, is that Healey, Michelle Wu, this clown mayor of Somerville, Kajana Ballantine, that clown, they want murderers and rapists and child sex predators and fentanyl dealers in their communities. Like, you can't make this up. Now, you got to hear this, and then I want to go to the phones. 617, by the way, a couple lines are open. 617-266-6868. Now, as I said, this was the largest enforcement action so far in the entire country. Now, according now to what ICE is now telling the media, hundreds of those that had been arrested had been released by sanctuary jurisdictions across Massachusetts because ICE detainers were deliberately ignored. So ICE is saying, you don't understand. We had to go into the streets, hunt them down, track them down. It puts our agents' lives at risk. But what it also does is it puts the people in the community at risk. What if there's a shootout? What if there's violence? You don't know how these things are going to go. Instead of just saying, look, this guy's a known murderer. He's an illegal alien. We want him, hold him, we're going to deport him. Or a rapist, or a child molester, or whatever. No, they kept releasing them, even when there was detainer after detainer after detainer. Now, furthermore, these are just some of the people that they arrested. Okay, these are who the Democrats are defending. This is who Healey and Michelle Wu and that clown, that anti-ICE activist, they're kidnapping kids from high school. Yeah, we blocked them. Yeah. They arrested a mass murderer. Okay, this is an international murderer who he's wanted in several countries for murder. So you start killing multiple people, that's a mass murderer. Biden let him in. So they arrested a mass murderer. They arrested 2 child rapists. Listen to this. One of whom was living next to a freaking playground. This one, a detainer, they let out. So they had to find him and track him down. And this animal was living next to kids at a playground. Okay, a child rapist. Another one, a big-time fentanyl trafficker. God knows how many people he killed dealing that poison. An adult rapist. This one doesn't do kids. He does women. Another one who assaulted children. And this was I'm just giving you, this is one arrest, one little raid in just a few hours. That was just one of the teams. Now, I'm going to get to this a little bit later because there were what are called collaterals. In other words, these are illegal aliens who happen to hang out with these criminals, and they haven't committed a heinous crime. I mean, they're criminals. They broke into our country. But, they're not, they haven't raped a child. They haven't murdered somebody. They're not dealing fentanyl. But they just happen to associate with these people. And so when ICE went after these criminals, because they wouldn't hand them over to them, they caught these people as well, and they said, well, we got you. You're an illegal alien. And so those people were arrested as well. And now the left in this state, the media, the Democrats are saying, why are you arresting these people who aren't convicted of crimes? Well, that's because you don't want to hand them over in jail. You don't want to hand them over in courthouses. You want to release them into the community, so ICE has to chase them into the community, and if they catch other illegals, they'll arrest them.
ICE just tried to abduct a bunch of kids and parents right here at Somerville High School, and so many community members showed up that ICE just left. Remember, you are the major power in your community. If you show up with people you trust quickly, you can protect kids, you can protect families. So form information networks, know where ICE is in your community, and show up. They will just leave. They are not brave enough to steal kids when an entire community comes around to protect them. So show up for the kids.
I want this guy. You know what? I want them all arrested. Don't get me wrong. But this guy, I want him. This guy, they got to arrest this guy. Big mouth here. Tough guy. This guy, I want him arrested. So he was one of the ringleaders. So I want to ask all of you. He had anti-ICE activists surround an ICE vehicle as they were literally surveilling a murderer at a home, an illegal alien, across from a school. And this idiot, they started yelling, shouting, screaming, blew their cover, and prevented them from being able to make an arrest. And now this murderer is on the loose. Should this person be arrested for obstructing federal law enforcement? I say yes. What say you? 617-266-6868. Okay, it's 6:34 now on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer. Text line is burning up, 70470, 70470. This is from 617. Jeff, you are 1,000% correct, as you like to say. These anti-ICE activists weren't just reckless. They are keeping murderers in our communities. No, I know. And the shocking thing is, with the full backing of the sanctuary city mayor of Somerville, with the full backing of Michelle Wu, with the full backing of Governor Healey, of the state attorney general, Andrea Campbell. This is what ICE is saying. They go, do you understand? They blocked and obstructed us. They did everything they could to harass us, to prevent any one of these criminal illegals from being arrested. And we kept asking them, you want them in your communities? And they would never give us an answer. But their non-answer is an answer. So, my question to you, double-barreled question, I want to go right to the phones, 617-266-6868. Should these anti-ICE activists who are now preventing or obstructing ICE from making arrests, should they be arrested as well for obstruction? And number two, this now collision course between ICE and Massachusetts. Who will blink? Who will back down? 617-266-6868. Lines are loaded. Let's go to Eric in Rentham, my fellow paisan. You're going to kick it off for us. Go ahead, Eric.
Kuhner, what's going on?
Hi, Eric.
I agree with you 1,000%. Tim Bondi and Holman need to get off Fox News, and they need to come over here immediately and start arresting these people. That's the only way this is ever going to change.
Well, you know, Eric, I got to be honest. Holman is working around the clock. I'm a little easier on him because his people they broke their backs in this Operation Patriot, as they called it. I mean, they bagged a lot of bad guys. These were some very dangerous criminal illegals. And the other point they made is they go, we could have done it in half the time. They go, but we're constantly being blocked. It's the constant non-cooperation, the constant obstruction. And the other thing is they said we would have gotten 3,000, not 1,500. But because these anti-ICE activists keep preventing us from doing our jobs and disrupting us and interfering with us, you know, these criminals are getting away. So, I mean, Holman is doing everything he possibly can. What I don't get is, again, Pam Blondie. This is honestly, Eric, I don't get this. You've got the guy on tape bragging. You've got ICE agents and numerous witnesses saying, oh, no, they surrounded the car. They prevented them from conducting their surveillance. They had to call it off. Like, how much more evidence do you need? And instead, Eric, she's on Fox. She looks good on Fox. She'd be a great analyst on Fox. I'm thinking, you know what? If you like Fox so much, maybe she should just go full time to Fox. What say you, Eric?
No, I agree with you. They're gonna. I'll say one thing too. The worst thing I think Trump did so far was not fighting for Gates to be AG.
Oh, Matt Gaetz would have been a very different AG. I agree with you. Matt Gaetz was a pit bull. Oh, if this was Matt Gaetz, they'd all be in the clink. He would be arresting these. They wouldn't even be doing what they're doing, Eric, because they know that Gates would be putting every single one of them behind bars. Eric, thank you very much for that call. I really appreciate it. Dave, our Western PA constitutionalist correspondent, right from the Pittsburgh area. Thanks for holding, Dave, and welcome. Dave, do we have you, my friend?
Hey, Jeff. Good morning. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Hey, Jeff, I had a funny-looking plane flying above West Mifflin, Pennsylvania on Friday. I was telling Mike. It said United States of America on it, buddy. I wonder who that was.
That's where the Trumpster...
Backyard,
yeah, the Trumpster came down and sealed that deal with Nippon, and he's going to save you the steel industry in the United States. What is it, Dave? 70,000 jobs in Pennsylvania alone? Good-paying jobs for working-class people? Billions of dollars in investments in steel here domestically? It's great for Pennsylvania. It's great for America. Trump delivered, my friend.
Welders, too, Jeff, because between me and you, I've welded Chinese steel before, Jeff. And you know what, Jeff? No, it runs like a nosebleed. Like Mike Tyson punching somebody in the face in a nosebleed. And Jeff, another thing real quick before I get to the topic. My two senators were tagging up against the liberal media, Fetterman and
McCormick.
Yeah, McCormick, thanks. I'm a little tongue-tied this morning. And they were on Fox Nation, and they were tagging up against the deep state, Jeff. And Fetterman had to admit that his party was the one that screwed up the border and implicating Biden. The deep state's got to love that, Jeff. Now to the ICE thing, Jeff. I just got one thing to say to that punk. You know, he's talking about the power of ICE. He'll feel the power of the ICE baby when they take his head and slam it up against a brick wall, Jeff. And I hope they get this punk, too. I hope they arrest him and throw him right into the cells and maybe deport him with them, Jeff. How about an accomplice? Get rid of his ass.
No, Dave, but let me ask you this. And you know, look, in all seriousness, how do you have someone, and I don't know, Mike, Sandy, what is he, 25, 30 years old, tops? I mean, tops? I don't know, everybody looks young to me, so maybe I'm off. But anyway, I think he's in his 20s, okay? And bragging, I mean, just on video, bragging. Oh, no, we stopped ICE from arresting somebody. And it turns out to be a murderer. Right, again, I don't want to keep going on, but literally 100 feet from a school. At a house, I guess he was stashed away, he was hiding out someplace, and they tracked him down, because, again, they released him. Somerville, I believe it was Somerville that released him. And they're like, no, we're not going to honor an ICE detainer. To hell with you. But he's a murderer. We don't care. And so you got this illegal alien who's a murderer. And they surround the car. They spot the car. They force them to have to basically blow their cover. They have to abandon the search, the surveillance. And this guy gets away. And then he has a video and he's saying, we're going to do this in community after community. And he's saying if hundreds of us come out every time ICE shows their face, they can't arrest anybody. And this guy's not in handcuffs? Dave, something is seriously wrong, not just with Massachusetts, but I'm asking myself, where's Pam Bondi? Where's Kash Patel? Where's Dan Bongino? Guys, it's time to start making arrests, man. They're breaking the law and they're bragging about it on social media. Dave, thank you so much for that call, my friend. Okay, what say you? Your calls next. 650 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, let me ask you. Should the DOJ, should the Department of Justice be arresting these anti-ICE activists that have been preventing and obstructing federal law enforcement, i.e. ICE, from making arrests of illegal alien murderers, rapists, and child molesters? Let me ask all of you, is it time for them to start making arrests? If they're going to surround a car or prevent them from conducting surveillance, or if they're going to call them out and blow their cover and do everything they can to help these criminal illegals escape, should these anti-ICE pro-criminal activists be arrested? Should the DOJ come in and start slapping the handcuffs? I say yes. What say you? 617-266-6868 is the number. This is a really good message that I got from Dolores on Messenger. Good morning, Jeff. Well, good morning to you, Dolores. That anti-ICE activist person should have been arrested on the spot. They all should have been arrested. President Trump should send a severe warning that anyone who prevents ICE from doing their job will be arrested and pay a huge fine. And Jeff, it's obvious they're getting paid for doing this. You know, that's a really interesting point, Dolores. You know, I'd love to know if this is just out of the kindness of their heart, or are you right? Are these activists getting, you know, money from the Democratic Party, from George Soros, from these other open borders NGOs to go out there, be on the lookout for ICE vehicles, ICE teams, and either block them or tip people off, tip illegals off so that they can escape? Now, just super quick, because I want to go to the phone lines. There are now multiple scandals brewing. The mayor of Nashville, Tennessee, has become so pro-illegal alien that he is now helping these anti-ICE activists, these left-wing community activists, warn illegals when ICE is in Nashville or near Nashville so that they can be tipped off, so that they can escape and not be apprehended and not be arrested. And now Holman is saying they're seriously looking at possibly arresting this mayor of Nashville. Throw the book at him. Like, seriously, throw the book at him. Now, it's not just Nashville, Tennessee. Here, I just want to very quickly. This is, I'm with all due respect to the people of Pennsylvania, I've never heard of Wilkinsburg. Apparently it's near Pittsburgh. Anyway, it's a small town, but the mayor, Dante Comins, is now speaking to a local CBS affiliate where this is the mayor now. Okay. Again, sanctuary. I can't call it city. It's a sanctuary town where he posts a community alert on Facebook. He's the mayor, saying ICE is going to come today, or ICE is expected tomorrow, or on Saturday, or on Sunday. So, you know, hide or leave or go somewhere and then come back after ICE is gone. So he's aiding and abetting not just criminal illegal aliens, but he's literally obstructing federal law enforcement. And he's asked, you're committing federal crimes. Why? Listen to his response. Again, this is the mayor, Wilkinsburg, PA, Dante Comins. Roll cut 9, a mic.
Everyone here is, we're family, we're Wilkinsburg, and we just want to protect each other. We have ordinances that protect everyone, no matter what part of life you're from.
What do you say to people who say you shouldn't be here illegally?
That's how this country started. You got to start, it's all about getting that path to being a resident, and I feel like we need to help them.
So, first of all, this is, since this country was founded on illegal immigration, What are you smoking, buddy? Okay, that's number one. And notice, well, they should just get a path to residency. Hey, you want to give amnesty to illegal aliens? Congress has to pass it. You can't just, as the mayor of a town, say, well, you know what, nah, I think anybody who comes to Wilkinsburg, I don't care how illegal they are, they should have a path to residency. So you know what? I don't care about the immigration laws, federal laws, laws passed by Congress. Hey, we do what the hell we want. We're Democrats. That's called anarchy, my friend. I mean, what are we going to become, a third world banana republic? So we just cherry pick and select what laws we want to abide by and what laws we don't? So now again, arrest his ass. He's posting on Facebook of upcoming ICE raids. Why? So that illegal aliens can hide or be given advance notice so they can flee and not be arrested. He's obstructing federal law enforcement, he's shielding criminals, and he's aiding and abetting criminal behavior. If you want, I can cite you the section of the law, of federal law, chapter and verse. Now, I don't care if he's a mayor. No one is above the law. I'm sorry, am I wrong? Am I missing something here? 617-266-6868. And one last point. Notice how these Democrats bend over backwards for not just foreigners, but again, that's why I said, please stop what you're doing when I did my opening monologue. In the greater Boston area alone, 1,500 criminal illegal aliens were arrested. Mass murderers. International murderers, convicted child rapists, one right next to a freaking playground, drug dealers. We're talking the worst of the worst of the worst. And you're coddling and shielding and harboring them? And you're tipping them off? You're blowing ICE's cover? You're going to break the law to defend animals like this? The Democratic Party, in front of our eyes, is becoming the party of MS-13, of gangbangers, murderers, and rapists. And they're proud of it. They're proud of it. That's what I find incredible. John in Dunstable. Thanks for holding, John, and welcome.
Hi, Jeff. Thanks for taking the call.
My pleasure, John.
All right. Now, listen, I want everybody to know that I'm 1,000% for getting rid of whether they're criminals or just here illegally. I'm 1,000% for getting rid of them. And as far as you thinking politicians are going to get arrested, Jeff, it's not going to happen. They're untouchable. We've seen that, Jeff. They're untouchable. But I got another story I wanted to tell you. My nephew, he's in his, upper 20s. He's a union electrician. He was going down to Plymouth. They've been working at the power plant. And they pulled into a variety store. This just happened the other day. And they got a drink and something to eat, and they were sitting in the van just before. They can't get in there until 7, so it was early in the morning. And all of a sudden, 4 unmarked vehicles surrounded the vehicle. One of them got out with a gun. He said it was a rifle, so I'm sure it was a machine gun. And the rest of them had their hands on their guns, and they were yelling. They wanted both the drivers. Now, the passenger in the vehicle was a blonde-haired, blue-eyed kid, and they wanted both IDs. They gave him the ID. My nephew says, "Yeah." He goes, "Where do you live?" He says, "Stoneham." He goes, he kept yelling at him, where do you live? Stone him. And the same thing was going on to the other kid that was beside him. And where were you born? He says, in Boston. He goes, are you sure you don't live in Boston? He says, no, I was just born in Boston. I've lived in Stoneham my whole life. And it went on. And then they ran him, and then they found out that they had the wrong person. They said, oh, we're sorry. We thought we had a tip. We had a tip that someone in a white van, he was in a company van, the electric company he works for. And, that's wrong, Jeff. The kid got traumatized. You don't get out and pull a machine gun on two young kids, and they've been, they're both, were born in America. Both their parents were born in America. Matter of fact, my nephew's father is a Vietnam vet. That's wrong, Jeff. But I know there's casualties in war, but that part of that's not right, Jeff.
Well, John, I hear you. John, I hear you. But look, this is the problem, okay? Is, first of all, these ICE agents, and I assume they're ICE agents, they have no idea who these people are. They're getting a tip. They're going off of a license plate or what someone tells them. So the reason why they come in heavy with the firearms is because they're often taking down MS-13, Trend or Aragua, as I said, convicted murderers, fentanyl, drug dealers. You're talking about scum, the worst of the worst. And many ICE agents are shot and killed in the line of duty. So that's why they go in heavy. Now, you're going to say, well, Jeff, they made a mistake. Yes, they made a mistake. But, John, this is why I go back, and I'm going to get to Milford very soon, because this is exactly what's happening with that high school student in Milford, which has also made national news. Here is what ICE is saying, and they're completely right. We want to pick these people up in a jail. You've got convicted, murderers, drug dealers, child rapists, gangbangers, but they release them. They don't let us pick them up at a jail or at a courthouse. They literally, even though we have a detainer, we even have final orders for removal and deportation. We go, look, we've got the papers. Just hold them for us. We'll be there in 3 hours. No, they release them. Now, they go and hide. They have to track them down. They rely on tips to track people down. And so what ICE is saying is, by releasing these people into the community, you are not just making our lives, our job, much more difficult. You're not only making it possible for these people to permanently escape, but you're also making it dangerous for everyone else in the community. These murderers can murder again. They can kill again. They can rape again. They can continue dealing drugs. Or in this case, we have mistaken identity or a mistaken tip. And something could happen. That's why I'm telling you, in all honesty, if you're fair about this, I blame the governor. I blame Michelle Wu. I blame these sanctuary cities and these sanctuary jurisdictions. If they would, ICE does not, look, I'm telling you, they don't want to go after just an ordinary illegal. They don't want to just have two guys in a van and go, hey, show us your papers. I'm telling you, they want to go to a jail or go to a courthouse. Okay, this guy's a convicted murderer. He's already in handcuffs. So it's safer for everybody. Transfer him to us and we deport. But Healey doesn't want to do that. Michelle Wu doesn't want to do that. Katanja Ballantine, the crazy mayor of Somerville, doesn't want to do that. So they keep releasing these animals into our community. This is what's going to happen inevitably. And you see, they're smart, because not only are they making ICE's job much more difficult, and they're obstructing them, they're slowing them down, but also, you see, they want the public like you to turn on ICE. You see something like this, you go, oh, these guys, these effing ICE agents, they're a bunch of Gestapo thugs. And they're like, no, man, don't blame us. This guy was the two murderers that we're looking for should have been waiting for us at the Stoneham courthouse. Instead, they released them into the community. Now we're looking, and we have to rely on informants or tips. And sometimes tips are wrong. So what I'm just saying, John, is don't blame ICE. This is a sanctuary state. These are sanctuary jurisdictions. They're making it more dangerous for everybody. That's why, to me, this is so unforgivable on every level. And you're right. Those kids are lucky they weren't killed. Don't blame ICE. Stop releasing these illegals into the community. Remember, they're after the most violent criminal elements of the illegal alien population. And they won't even cooperate with that? Now, look, I'll tell you this. And last point, then I'm going to go to you, John. I'll go right back to you, I promise. Yes, 1,500. Biggest operation, enforcement operation so far. ICE came out and said we should have had 3,000. They came out and said. Now, it's not a numbers game. They go, do you know how many other murderers got away? Do you know how many other child molesters, literally MS-13, Trend or Aragua gangbangers? Do you know how many drug dealers and fentanyl traffickers, sex traffickers got away? You know what that means? More people are going to get murdered, innocent victims. More people are going to die from drugs. More crime. Like, in other words, they want criminals and murderers to be in our communities. These people are sick. ICE doesn't want to be on the street. ICE doesn't want to pull anybody over. ICE wants to go to a jail, scoop up the criminal illegal, or go to a courthouse, scoop up the criminal illegal, put him on a plane, or put him in front of an immigration judge, and sayonara. When they're on the streets, it's because the criminals are being released by these sanctuary jurisdictions into the streets. Final word to you, John.
Well, Jeff, I'm 100% for the ICE. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that, you know, they got to be sure of what they're doing. I know it's hard, but you can't pull American citizens over and pull machine guns on them. If they did that to me, Jeff, not knowing that they were cops, but if 4 cars come screaming in, I'd draw on them, Jeff, and I wouldn't be talking to you today. I don't know who they are. If I seen someone jump out with a machine gun pointed at me, I'm drawing on them and shooting. That's what I'm doing. I mean, these are young adults. They're only in their 20s, but. Well, John, I mean, look, I'm not excusing, obviously, you shouldn't draw guns on innocent people, but I was at Ohio University, my PhD program, cop pulled me over. I went in to get my registration. He thought I was going for a gun. He pulled a gun on me. And it was, yeah, sure, it was traumatic. It wasn't pleasant, but, I'm okay. I still survived. And what I'm saying is, I'm not excusing it, but what I'm saying is they weren't arrested. They weren't shot. Now, yeah, but so what are they supposed to do? They have a tip. They're given a license plate. They're given the make of a car. Because they've been released now onto the streets. So what are they supposed to do? Not arrest people? Because it could be a mistake. It could be false information. It could be a false tip. Like they're between a rock and a hard place. And you say, well, Jeff, they have blonde hair, blue eyes. Yeah, so a lot of Russians are in this country illegally. A lot of Ukrainians are in this country illegally. A lot of, frankly, Irish are in this country illegally. In other words, yeah, there's a lot of white people with blue eyes and blonde hair in the country illegally. It's not just people with brown skin or black skin. It's a lot of white people. A lot of people from Eastern Europe are in this country illegally. And, just ask the poor Marine 7. There was a Ukrainian illegal on the road, stoned out of his mind, and killed 7 Marines on their bikes. To me, an illegal is an illegal. I don't care if you're white, black, or brown. Blonde hair, black hair, brown hair, red hair, blue eyes, brown eyes, green eyes. I don't care. ICE doesn't know.
A lot of white people are illegals. So I don't know what else you want them to do. Again, that's why the blame is not on ICE. Ask ICE, and I'm sure you ask these guys, they go, no, we had a detainer. There were two guys, either gangbangers, drug dealers, murderers, rapists. That's all they're looking for. They're not looking for just an ordinary illegal. And they got released onto the streets. So now we got to spend all this manpower, all this time, all these resources tracking them down. And we're dependent upon public information. So what am I supposed to do? Not act because we may have gotten a false tip? So again, John, don't blame ICE. Blame the Democrats and their sanctuary policies. I mean, I know you're for ICE. I understand your point, but what I'm saying is you don't like the sight of guys with guns. I understand that. But this is what, in fact, I'll play you Todd Lyons. He said, you think we want to be on the street? He openly said it. We don't want to be going house to house, community to community, making these arrests. They should be at a courthouse or at a jail. But this state refuses to cooperate. They're releasing them into your communities so they could possibly commit crimes against you. And then we got to go track them down, which puts our lives in danger, ICE agents, and innocent bystanders or people, who are just there could be caught in the crossfire. And then on top of it, you're urging anti-ICE activists to block us and prevent us. I'm sorry. It's time to drop the hammer. Maura Healey, Michelle Wu should be arrested. Period. Full stop. 7:19 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, liberalism's worst nightmare, baby. Okay, 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, in the wake of John and Dunstable's call, and it was a very good call, John's obviously a very smart, thoughtful man, that ICE should maybe have more psychic powers. They should be able to, read people's mind. Know who's an illegal even though they're just in a van or, whatever. So let me ask you, it's the Kuhner Country poll question of the day, sponsored by Kelly Financial Services. Sponsored by Mario's. Mario's Quality Roofing, Siding, and Windows. Again, Mario's Quality Siding, Roofing, and Windows. Would you be offended if ICE asked you to show or prove identification? Say you were parked at a shopping mall or at a grocery store, at a laundromat or wherever, and suddenly they come out and they're like, show me your paper, show me your papers. They're like, hey, whoa. What's your name? Let me see your driver's license. Whoa, hey, who are you? Would you be offended? Honestly, I'm giving my honest reaction. I would be, frankly, effing Healey. That's what I'd be saying. Effing Healey. Effing Wu. Like, this is, you just can't hand them over at the freaking courthouse? No, at the jail? No. So now I got these guys barreling down on me, thinking maybe I could be an illegal. That would be my honest response, but that's me. So would I be offended? No, but that's me. A, yes. B, no. Would you be offended if ICE asked you to show proof of identification? A, yes. B, no. You can vote on our webpage, WRKO.com/Kuhner, WRKO.com/Kuhner, KUHN as in national ER. You can also vote via X, and boy, was I bringing it last night on X. So if you're not following me, please do. My handle there, at the Kuhner Report, all one word, KUHN as in national ER. Super quick. Again, best audience in the business. Jeff, you're like a broken record. I know, but it's true. I don't know what else to tell you. Okay, dynamite stuff. Listen now to this. This is from Mark on Messenger. Jeff, please, I have a question. and this is a really good point, why are people finding out ahead of time when ICE is coming? Were any of the people Merrick Garland raided notified ahead of time? Roger Stone, Peter Navarro, hell, Donald Trump. No, they were not. ICE should not be notifying sanctuary cities or sanctuary states when they're coming, or this will just continue happening. Mark, you're a genius. You're a genius. Was Trump notified? No. They came in literally guns drawn, shoot to kill orders when the FBI raided Mar-a-Lago. Nobody was ever given any advance notice under Merrick Garland. They're telling the mayor of Somerville. They're telling the mayor of Boston. They're telling Hulda Healey. They're telling everybody. The mayor of Nashville knows. The mayor of Wilkinsburg in PA, which, by the way, is right near Pittsburgh, very close to Pittsburgh. Okay? That clown knows when ICE is coming to town because someone's tipped him off. Now, speaking of genius, here's another genius. This is from Jack on Messenger. Jeff, Wu and Governor, I can't say this one on the air, Jack. Wu and Governor Holdit Healey. Let's just go like this. Michelle Wu and Governor Holdit Healey. Now, this is really true. This is so true. Want a mistaken shooting to happen. That way they can go full blitzkrieg on Trump's deportations. Don't be surprised that they start setting up innocent people by dropping BS leads. Jack, honestly, I didn't even think of it, but you're completely right. You can see it. They want to force ICE to make a mistake. And if they can push them or have them commit a false shooting or anything, a murder or arrest someone who's completely innocent or whatever, they know then they can go Thunderdome on Trump and his mass deportation policies and stop him dead in his tracks. And that's why ICE now has to be even doubly careful. Because I believe now, you're right, Jack. You're completely right. They're being set up. 617-266-6868. Brooks in the great state of North Carolina. Thanks for holding, Brooks, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff.
Hi, Brooks.
There is some good news happening. Kim and I just left Florida, got back to our mini farm here in North Carolina. The very bottom of our driveway, if you go, just a few hundred feet, you're in South Carolina. So what happened is Henry McMaster, the governor of South Carolina, just came out yesterday and said that he had been collaborating with ICE right after the election. And there was 80 arrested, get this, in a town called Somerville. It's Somerville, South Carolina. It's a suburb outside of Charleston. And, they were studying this footprint. It's an underground kind of bunker-style nightclub. And specifically, they got 80 out of there, all illegals, 2 arrested for murder, 1 missing child. I'm going to email you, Jeff. I'll email you the story.
Brooks, I promise I want you to finish, but was that where they arrested these Chinese and Taiwanese illegals? Was that the place?
No, this was predominantly a nightclub for the cartel.
Okay. I'm confusing with another story. Please keep going, Brooks.
Oh, sure thing. So, we're all kind of listening on Kuhner country to the, impotent response of Boston. And, all that's going to happen, man, is that these illegals are smart. They've got a lot of, tech on their hands, and it's the same thing that's going to happen.
Brooks, please hang on. I'm going to come right back to you. Very short break. I'm up against it. Brooks is basically saying illegals are not stupid, and they're not. 7:32 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, let's go right back to Brooke. Let's go right back to Brooks in North Carolina. Fascinating call before we hit a break. So Brooks is saying even in neighboring South Carolina, in a suburb of Charleston, also called Somerville. I don't know what the hell it is with Somervilles, but anyway, they found, what was he said, Brooks, 80 illegals in a nightclub, servicing, I guess, the drug cartels. Please, Brooks, pick up where we left off.
Yeah, sure thing, Jeff. So I'll email this to you as well. But yeah, interestingly enough, the town is Somerville. Summerville for anybody that wants to look up the article. What makes this an interesting story is that Henry McMaster, immediately after the election, partnered with ICE. That's excellent. That's what we need across the red states. And as a result of that, they did, month after month after month, investigations about the cartel who are running basically an underground nightclub. And, they were pretty brazen about it. So, bottom line is, yes, they pulled out 80, over the weekend. What makes it particular, it's got some teeth. What's good about it is, they've got two very high-ranking cartel members. They've got them. ICE has them right now detained. But they also received a missing child. So, I think really the headline here is the fact that we have a governor that's willing to partner with ICE, and that's what we need to see across the red states. The blue states, I love you, Jeff, but I mean, Boston it's gone. It's gone, brother. I don't know. I mean, it's going to have to be. It's going to have to amount to arrests coming, for Michelle Wu, for the Somerville mayor. Kim and I left Marblehead, Mass. That's where we met, and we started to see the writing on the wall. But, maybe some good will come out of this, whereby all of these brazen efforts from the city council members like this Etel Haxis, this woman, Nay 8th in Worcester, the city councilwoman that was physically pushing against ICE, maybe as a result of this, Pam Bondi and Trump and his team are going to come down and start banging some heads and arresting local and state officials for aiding and abetting. But that's what it's going to take. We all know that. We've talked about that on infinitum, but there's zero activity happening. So what I'm hoping is that a coalition of red states in the South, where we are, they're aligning themselves. They want to help. And Tom Holman is being extremely vocal about this, that if we don't get your help, there's going to be innocent bystanders, not innocent bystanders, wrong word. There's going to be illegals that are captured into this. And, Trump is starting to intimate slowly that there may be a process for these people to come back. For example, here in the Carolinas, we produce a lot of apples. And so, we have a tremendous workforce of migrants. And, he may just have to parallel some sort of legal process for these people to leave and come back, be vetted, join within that process on a voluntary basis. I don't know, but they're starting a little bit of chit-chat about this. But anyway, the headline for
Brooks,
today...
No, you're dead on. Look, Brooks, everything what you said is not 100. You're 1,000% correct. And, you're red states in the South, red states in the Midwest as well. When you have a governor, like the South Carolina governor, frankly, like Ron DeSantis in Florida, who's cooperating with ICE. Look, just to go back to Operation Patriot. Yeah, they nabbed almost 1,500. But ICE literally said, you don't understand. It was so hard. And we faced obstruction and resistance every step of the way. And we lost so many murderers and rapists. And, you talk about missing children and child traffickers. We lost them because these idiots, these anti-ICE activists stopped us. And under Florida, when they did Operation Tidal Wave, which was the biggest a law enforcement action prior to this one, Operation Patriot. They go, we nabbed about 1,200, but it was so easy, or much easier, because we had the full cooperation, not just of the governor, of the AG, of local authorities. He goes, and it was also much safer for the public. So we knew where these people were. The police helped us. The local mayors helped us. We moved in. We nabbed them, and we're in, we're out. But what's happening in Massachusetts, and they're facing the same thing in New York, and they're facing the same thing in Pritzker's, Illinois, and man, are they meeting resistance in California. They go, you don't understand. It's putting ICE agents at risk. It's putting the community at large at risk. It's putting everybody at risk. That's why this is so reckless and frankly immoral. It's really sickening. But no, Brooks, I think there's no question now. The red states are the future. And look, I'm a big fan of the Carolinas. If I had things my way, I swear to you, that's where I would retire. Just for the accent alone, I would retire down there. Never mind the culture, the people, the politics, the whole thing. So, and I love fried chicken. Honestly, I could eat it every day. I could eat it twice a day, frankly. And some coleslaw, cornbread, a little bit of mashed potatoes and gravy. Mwah! I'm a happy man. Brooks, thank you very much for that call. Linda in Medford. Thanks for holding, Linda, and welcome.
The way to really get around some of this is for there to be a definite punishment for those people who are harboring these illegal people, including local police, neighbors, or whatever, even if it's just $1,000 fine. But there's got to be some recourse. Otherwise, they see themselves as being self-righteous.
Oh, I mean, you can see it. I mean, they think they're morally, you're right. They're self-righteous. They're smug. They're arrogant. They think they're morally superior. And, I'd love to get that punk on the phone just for 2 minutes and say, so you literally allowed a murderer to escape. Are you proud of yourself? And, if there's divine justice, what happens if this guy ends up murdering someone in his family? Would you like that? Would you like that because you allowed him to escape? So, and this murderer was right across from a school. So God knows what he could have done to these kids or already did do to one of these kids. I mean, we don't know. And, and that's just, look, I'm sorry, Linda, this, on so many levels, this is so wrong. Again, maybe it's me, maybe it's my upbringing. I mean, I don't know. But I was never raised like this. The police are in the midst of a surveillance operation. They're tracking down a criminal. I'm going to go in front of a vehicle with other so-called protesters and blow their cover and call them, the F-bomb, pigs, effing pigs, and call them effing ICE and Gestapo and fascist and this and that, and yell and scream and go, ICE, 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 or whatever, cops, 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 and allow a criminal to escape and then post a video bragging about it? I'm telling you, my dad, I know he just passed away, God rest his soul, but I'm telling you, even at 80, even with Parkinson's, he'd beat my ass. I'm telling you, he'd whack me across the back of the head. He'd be like, I didn't raise you like this. So you're going to be a pro-criminal thug? Is that what you're going to be now? And the way the Dems and the media are lying about how ICE is causing fear in these communities, that's their spin. Nobody's safe. They're coming in there. They're causing fear, panic. It's endangering everybody. Why don't you hand over the convicted murderers and the rapists and the gangbangers and the drug dealers and the child sex predators over to ICE in the courthouse or in a jail where they're in handcuffs and they're completely subdued and under control, and they don't have to be anywhere in the community. Well, instead, you have to shield and defend the worst of the worst. And then you complain when ICE has to track them down in the communities. Because, Linda, in the end, they don't, as you saw with Garcia, Kilmar Garcia, or whatever, that El Salvadorian, okay? They don't even want one violent criminal illegal to be arrested. Not even one. And that tells you everything you need to know. 750 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, I just got a great text from Lonnie Brennan, the editor and publisher of the Boston Broadside. And he's telling everyone, don't even take his word for it. Go to bostonbroadside.com. You can read the story yourself. Maura Healey, hold it Healey, the governor of Massachusetts, in what was called Neighbor to Neighbor, issued a $50,000 grant to anti-ICE activists. This was after, remember, when they obstructed the ICE agents from trying to perform an arrest in Worcester? Well, apparently she was so outraged that these ICE agents went ahead with their arrest. So $50,000 grant, U.S. taxpayer money, our money, taxpayer dollars, goes now to these anti-ICE activists. This is straight from Maura Healey. So, yeah, the activists are being paid. It's what Dolores said in her message an hour and a half ago. These activists are being paid, and some of them are literally being paid straight from the governor's office with our money to obstruct and prevent ICE from arresting some of the most dangerous, heinous, criminal, illegal aliens in the country. Okay, furthermore, and this is a big story, and I'm telling you it's going to get even bigger. So, and I want to give a hat tip to John Featherston. He was the one that tipped me off about this. This was yesterday. I've been waiting for this shoe to drop. Well, it finally dropped. So, remember this name. Lorenzo Lopez Alcario. Lorenzo Lopez Alcario. He is an illegal alien. Now, you want to talk about absolutely horrific. Again, we're going to make news, national news. This is in Marlborough, Massachusetts. He was arrested, and forgive me because this is really disgusting. He was arrested for allegedly blindfolding and raping his 8-year-old daughter. Okay? This is the guy that they're trying to protect ICE or prevent ICE, forgive me, from arresting. They're shielding people like him. Anyway, he was arrested in Marlborough, illegal alien. He apparently blindfolded, allegedly, and raped his own daughter, 8-year-old daughter, an 8-year-old girl. Now, let me just say this right away. This is going to get big. I'm telling you, Bill Malugin on Fox is already all over this. This is going to go everywhere. Maura Healey, the first call she makes, it better be to ICE. Not have ICE send her a detainer. Not have ICE say, please, pretty please, with a cherry on top. Can we get this guy? Can you hand him over to us? Don't, please. Hey, whatever you do, don't release him now into Marlborough. Okay? Don't release him into the community. Because he may rape again or molest another child or God knows what. Okay? No. Keep him in that freaking jail and in that freaking courthouse so ICE can move in, grab him, and detain and deport his ass. And deport him. Her first call better be to ICE. And this time, no excuses. Now, the question is this. I'm throwing down the gauntlet. Is Maura Healey now saying that Massachusetts is a sanctuary for child sex predators and child rapists. Because if she's not calling ICE, then her answer is yes. He has no business being in our state. He has no business being in our country. Now, you can call me old-fashioned. You can call me a racist. You can call me a fascist. You can call me a Nazi. You can call me call me any name you want to call me. But let me tell you, I draw the line at raping 8-year-old girls, okay? I know you libs are a little different. You guys are hardwired a little differently there. But where I come from, you don't rape anybody. But you certainly don't rape your own daughter, and you don't rape an 8-year-old girl. Now, I don't want him in our country. I don't want him. You understand? He's not improving us. This is not the diversity, inclusion, equity. I want him out. And if you had half a brain and any kind of a heart or conscience, you'd want him out too. So, I want to give the name again. Lorenzo Lopez Alcario. He was arraigned yesterday in Marlborough. He's accused now of blindfolding and raping his 8-year-old daughter. He's an illegal alien. He has no business being here. He never should have been allowed into our country, never mind our state. Where's Maura Healey? Is she calling ICE? Or does ICE have to beg her? And I'm telling you, here's my prediction, okay? Even after all of this, ICE is going to issue a detainer. They're going to say, we want him. And either Healey is going to say, no, you can't have him, or they're just going to release this guy. He makes bail, he's out on the street. And then ICE is going to have to try to track this guy down in the community. And I'm telling you right now, you're going to have anti-ICE activists, these pro-criminal activists, these scumbags, literally, if they spot an ICE vehicle, look, ICE, feds, ICE, 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 ICE. And they're going to blow their cover so this scumbag, this animal can get away. That's the reality of open borders, and that's the reality of sanctuary cities. Now, let me give you one final burst of reality, and then I want to go right back to the great audience. 617-266-6868. And this is a doozy from 781. You can text us 70470. Jeff, here are the facts about illegals. Now, please, you have to hear this, okay? 43% of all food stamps, this is in America, are given to illegals. 43%. In Los Angeles, 95% of warrants issued for murder are for illegals. Now, remember they go on about, they just want to come and pick crops, right? Somebody's got to pick strawberries. Somebody's got to pick somebody's got to pick cotton. Remember how long have they been telling us this? They've been lying to us. Here it is. Here are the facts. Less than 2% of illegals pick crops. Less than 2%. But 41% of illegals are on welfare. 2%, less than 2, pick crops. Pick, whatever, they pick apples. 41%, give me the welfare, baby. In California, more than 66% of all births are now to illegals on Medi-Cal, which I assume is their version of Mass Health, so their version of Medicaid. 66% of all births are to illegals on Medi-Cal, meaning we pay for the whole thing. Housing and urban development, all these Section 8 housing, public housing across the entire country, 60% 70% of all HUD-occupied properties in the United States are illegals. You want to keep going? You want to know why the country's in the hole that we're in? Here it is. This is, again, California. 39% of all California students, I'm not just talking college, kindergarten, elementary, middle, high school, college, the whole kit and caboodle, 39% are illegals. In Los Angeles, 75% of the most wanted criminals, these are the worst of the worst, are illegals. Across the entire country, 50% of all gang members. Remember when I was growing up in the 80s and 90s, you remember this? Central LA, South Central LA, you remember the Bloods and the Crips? You remember that? That was the big rivalry. Or in rap and hip hop, they actually were killing each other. What was it? East Coast versus West Coast. You remember that? Those days are, give me the Blood and the Crips. No, any day. Hell, at least they were Americans. It's Americans, American gangbangers killing American gangbangers. No, listen now to this. 50% of all gang members are illegals. And U.S. taxpayers are footing the bill for all of this. All of this. Why do we have a massive deficit? Illegal immigration. Why do we have runaway crime? Illegal immigration. Why are our hospitals overrun? Illegal immigration. Why is our school system now at the breaking point? Illegal immigration. You take care of the illegal alien problem, the illegal immigration problem, and I'm telling you, you solve 90% of our problems. And yet the Democrats won't even allow for a murderer to be deported. 617-266-6868. But I swear to you, in this insane state, in the People's Republic of Massachusetts, I'm the extremist. I'm the wild man. I'm the one. That's the far right. He's a white supremacist. Okay. Okay. Hey, if you love your murderers and rapists and child molesters that much, you know what? Here's the deal. You take them into your homes. You live with them. That's all so I'll tell you what. You love them so much, you take them. Because we don't want them. Eddie in Charlestown. Thanks for holding, Eddie, and welcome.
Hello, Jeff. Good morning. Yes.
Go ahead, Eddie. You're on the air, my friend.
Yes. Hi, Jeff. Good morning.
Hi, Eddie. Good morning, my friend. Go ahead.
I just want to make a quick point. These politicians that are protecting these scumbags, Healey, Wu, and that wacko in Somerville. How about the next victim of their crimes? What's wrong with the families of getting a lawyer and hitting these politicians really, really hurts financially in the pockets? Bring them to court and hold them financially responsible for these scumbags that they're protecting and hit them financially. Maybe that will stop the flow. Maybe that will stop it if they hit them in the pockets.
Well, I agree, Eddie. I mean, look, something has to be done, and Trump is obviously doing everything he can, but it's the fierce opposition and resistance. And this is, Eddie, look, maybe you can explain it to me in all seriousness. Okay, you know me. I think every illegal should be deported. An illegal is an illegal is an illegal. They're criminals by definition. But I can see an argument. You go, oh, okay, single mother with a couple children or a family and they work and whatever. They fled poverty and disease and violence in Central America or wherever. Okay, I can see an argument for that. But we're now talking about that. Now we're literally talking about MS-13 gangbangers. We're literally talking about a murderer. Like, just to go back to Somerville, you have a murderer. He's a murderer. He's 100 feet from a school. He's hiding out at someone's house. ICE doesn't want to come in and just kick the door, right? Because they don't want to be criticized for being a bunch of yahoos. So they're staking the place out, and they want to make sure, do we see him? Do we see him? Do we see him? Now, it turned out the guy was there, but they needed confirmation. They only got confirmation later when the witnesses said the guy ran away. But so they're waiting, and they're staking out, and they're like, okay. And then these clowns show up. These thugs, these pro-criminal activists. And they literally start yelling, screaming, shouting. And they blew their cover. And I said, operation, you got to abort the operation. This guy may have a gun. Who knows what he's got? We may get killed. These activists may get killed. There are children on the school grounds. They could get killed. Spray bullets or, whatever. And now this guy's escaped. Now, God forbid, I hope he doesn't murder somebody else. Now, you tell me, how is the mayor not being forced to resign? How is the governor? How is this not a massive scandal? How is the Department of Justice not barreling down and arresting, especially the guy who posted the video? And how are we not cutting all funding to the entire state of, I'm just using Massachusetts as an example, but Illinois, California, Oregon, Washington, you name it, New York, okay, Rhode Island, Connecticut, never mind all these cities, from Nashville to Chicago to Boston. How are we not, and Somerville, all of their funding should be cut immediately. No healthcare funding, no education funding, no nothing. Why? Because you're literally endangering your very constituents and citizens. I mean, this to me is this, I mean, I'm looking around, I'm like, are we living in Venezuela or are we living in America? Eddie, final word to you.
Yeah, and I just want to make one final point here. I'm a veteran, a Navy veteran, and I get a lousy $25 added to my pension because I'm a veteran. And I just hear that the governor is giving these people $50,000 to go against ICE. Are you kidding me? Right now, I'm calling for every veteran in this state of Massachusetts to organize a rally and let us be heard. We defended this country and we get $25 extra. What a joke. And that's an insult. And I'm calling every veteran to man up and get to the State House and prove that you're a veteran and prove that your life mattered and prove that this governor can't do this, especially with our taxpayers' money. I'm calling for every veteran to man up.
Eddie, I think it's time for every citizen. You're right, but it's every citizen, it's every taxpayer, it's every decent, law-abiding American. Eddie, and I want to thank you for your service. I want to thank you for your courage. And God bless you, my friend. So, look, this is now more information that we're getting from ICE. So please, all of you, you need to just brace yourself. You need to be prepared. You need to hear this. So it gets even worse now. So this murderer, and there was remember I told you that in Operation Patriot, they arrested about 1,500 people. They arrested literally an international murderer, a mass murderer. They arrested other murderers. They arrested multiple rapists. And remember I said they arrested 2 child rapists or 2 child molesters. And one of them, remember I said, was living right next to a playground. Right next to a playground. Well, here it comes. This is now from ICE. ICE cannot believe, by the way, ICE is shocked at the links and the energy and effort that Maura Healey, Michelle Wu, and Democrats in this state are going to shield and protect the worst of the worst, the scum of the scum. Listen now to this. Healey let this illegal alien pedophile, he had already been deported. He had already been deported. He was gone. He came back under Biden. And she knew that he had entered Massachusetts. ICE says we told her about this guy. This guy had been deported already. He's a child molester, a convicted a rapist. He's a child rapist. We know the house. We know where he lives. He came back to America, and because this is a sanctuary state, right here, he came right into Massachusetts. She knew about it. The chief of ICE is now saying, quote, I'll quote, the person we arrested that was living across the street from a playground. So you have a deported sex offender that the state knew about living across the street from a playground. He was already a known registered sex offender on the Massachusetts probation rolls. And they let him stay. They let him, I'm sorry, I don't want to swear. They let him effing stay. That could have been your kid. That could have been my kid. Especially my Ava. She's 12 years old. She still goes to the playground all the time. Her and her friends. She's a sixth grader. They love it. They're on the swings. They're on the park. And she's very gullible. She's got a big heart. She's very trusting. I always worry about her. That's why I watch her like a hawk. Already deported. Known sex offender. On the sex offender registry list. Convicted child molester. Illegal alien. They knew and they did nothing. Now, if there wasn't such a corrupt media in this state, I'm telling you, Healey would be gone. Gone. Her career would be finished. 8:19 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer, cleaning up the liberal bull. Now you know why they want me off the air. Now you know why Healey's gunning for me. And Michelle Wu and the Democrats. And I'm basically now public enemy number one. Because you are going to hear not just opinions, but you're going to hear facts, evidence, truths about this state and about this country and about the world that you're not going to find it in Massachusetts, that's for sure, and in Boston, and very few. You can count them on one hand across most of the country. 617-266-6868. Now, look, this should be beyond liberal or conservative. Let me just say this. It should be beyond Democrat, Republican. We're not talking higher taxes, lower taxes, more spending, less spending. I don't know. You're for socialized medicine. I'm for, private medicine, whatever the differences are. Pro-abortion, again, pro-life. We're talking now about illegal aliens who shouldn't even be in our country. Convicted child rapists and molesters who have been deported, who came back. They are on a registered sex offender registry list, who are living right next to a playground. And you, as the governor, knew about it and did absolutely nothing. And not only did you do nothing, when ICE asked you for help in locating so they could arrest this person and deport this person, Healey tried to block and obstruct them every step of the way. You have a governor and a regime in this state, and it's in other states as well, but we're just talking about Operation Patriot today, that is literally shielding murderers, rapists, and child molesters. Literally. How does this woman still have a job? Like, seriously. And where's the freaking media? Where's your integrity? 617-266-6868 is the number. Maria in Ludlow. Thanks for holding, Maria, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Maria?
Oh, so-so. So I'm on my way home from Cambridge to Ludlow, and driving on the Mass bike, I thought I was seeing something like crazy. But you talking about all this ice stuff, and on one of the overpasses on the Mass bike, I don't know if you know the Mass bike well, but before two overpasses before the Star Market overpass, there was people on the overpass with signs, protesters saying, ICE tears families apart. ICE tear us apart. I thought I was like, are you for real? It's just like they're actually on that overpass with these signs saying this. So me, being the good Portuguese that I am, and I put my hand out the window and I flipped them the bird.
Good for you.
I flipped them the bird. I could not believe that these people have nothing else better to do. Don't these people have jobs? Instead of protesting out there, and that's probably more of Healey paying them, and I do not. One of these days, mark my words, Jeff, you're going to say Maria was right. So one of these illegals are going to go do something wrong to the wrong person, the wrong child, and a family member is going to take the law into their own hands. And then they're the ones that are going to be prosecuted. Because they try to save their family. And they're the ones that's going to be arrested and put in jail and be crucified. Meanwhile, these illegals get free passes for everything under the sun. I cannot, in the under circumstance, cannot understand if it was you or I, Jeff, did something wrong, hiding illegals, whatever, our behinds would be thrown in jail like no one's business. But how is this possible that Congress, the government, anything under the sun is not doing anything? Like Maura Healey, Michelle Wu have broken their oath. They're breaking the law, and they're using our money to take care of these illegals, and nothing bad is happening to them. Not even a scratch. Nothing. There is no consequences for what they're doing. If it was you or I or anybody else under the sun that is a Republican, our behinds would be thrown in jail. The boat's thrown at us. And the media would be all over that like, white on rice. Okay? I am just saying, I am so sick and tired of these people breaking the law, breaking their oath to protect the American citizens, their constituents of Massachusetts, and nothing is being done to these people. Nothing. There is no consequences whatsoever. None. And I am sick and tired of it. Where is the higher people to take care of this? Why aren't they not being arrested? Why is there no consequences? Somebody needs to do something. They need to be made an example out of it. Enough is enough. I am tired of it. Why this is not being taken care of? I can't.
Well, Maria, it's not because, look, you need courage. And I'm sorry, but Trump obviously is a very courageous man. But a lot of the people that he's put in these positions, they're all talk, no action. And as long as there are no consequences, this is going to get worse and worse. And now the governor's a hero. The mayor's a hero. The mayor of Somerville is a hero. Michelle Wu is a hero. These anti-ICE activists are heroes. They're being praised all over. In fact, I'm telling you, you want to see how bad it's getting? You want to see how much they become emboldened? I've got a story for you. Trust me, Maria. Milford. Yes, Milford. Milford High School has now made national news. Why? You got to hear it to believe it. Next. On the great WRKO, Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer, 617-266-6868 if you want to be part of the show. Okay, just an exclamation point on what we were talking about with Maria and Ludlow, and really for the last 2.5 hours of the show. Here it is. Starting today, this is what I've just been notified by Cape Cod citizens. Starting today, seniors on Cape Cod will no longer receive Meals on Wheels on Tuesdays. Now, why, you may ask? Jeff, why? The reason given is that it's due to quote-unquote state and federal funding cuts. So this is coming straight from the governor's office. Okay, again, this is Hold It Healey. So for our senior citizens, Meals on Wheels, blank you, no money for you. But this is the same governor, as the Cape Cod citizens point out, who had all the money to give a no-bid contract, which, by the way, is illegal. It's illegal. To give a no-bid contract for Spinelli's to deliver catered food. You remember that? $64 a day? To the illegals all the way from Boston to Cape Cod. So, in plain English, there's plenty of food every day. Breakfast, lunch, dinner. It's all catered, my friend. That there's money for the illegals. No bid contracts to our political friends and cronies. But when it comes to senior citizens, American citizens, who've worked their whole life and have contributed to this country, no Meals on Wheels for you, blank you. On Tuesdays, no. It's state funding cuts. There's no money. You see, there's no money for us, but there's always money for the illegals. Now, and there's also always compassion for illegals. So listen now to this story. Milford now, congratulations, you're on the map. The whole country now knows about Milford. Why? Here it is. As part of Operation Patriot, again, where they arrested nearly 1,500 illegal aliens, over half of them significant criminals, dangerous criminals. On their way to making an arrest, this was in Milford, they were looking for a father. And so they tracked down the truck. It was the father's truck. It was the father's license plate on the truck. And they pulled the truck over. Well, who was driving the truck? It wasn't the father. It was his 18-year-old son, who also, by the way, is an illegal alien. His name is Marcelo Gomez. He is 18 years old. He is a junior at Milford High School. Apparently, they say he's an honor student. He plays on the volleyball team. He's part of the band. So, they claim that he's a pillar of Milford High. Well, ICE pulled him over and said, we're looking for, I think his father's name is Joao or whatever. Anyway, we're looking for Joao Gomez. Well, no, I'm the son. I'm Marcelo. Well, and they said, where are your papers? Well, he doesn't have papers. Why? Because he's an illegal alien. And so ICE arrested him. And they openly said, no, we weren't looking to arrest this 18-year-old kid. We weren't looking to arrest this high school student. We wanted his old man, because his old man is a criminal illegal alien. And he's wanted for very serious crimes. And on top of that, he brought his son up here illegally. Now, the father, that loser, has now disappeared. He's gone into hiding. He knows he's the target. He knows ICE wants to really get him. He's the criminal illegal they were hunting for, they were looking for. But now his son has been arrested. Why? Because he's an illegal as well. Well, because Marcelo Gomez, this 18-year-old high school student, was arrested, Holy mackerel. The entire the entire liberal population of Massachusetts has gone absolutely berserk. Milford High protested on his behalf. Students walked out of school yesterday saying that ICE needs to release Marcelo now. Their graduation ceremony, they claimed, was ruined. Even though he's a junior, but it doesn't matter. They say their graduation ceremony was ruined over the weekend because of Marcelo's arrest. And so hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of Milford students, teachers, principals, the staff, even the school superintendent released a statement. Everybody now, they went to Milford, the town hall, and they were protesting on behalf of Marcelo, saying that ICE is a Gestapo agency, that they're terrorizing the community, that they're now, quote unquote, kidnapping kids. This guy's 18, but let that go. They're kidnapping students, and that this is causing fear. This is causing terror. This is causing trauma, according to them. The Gomez family's being ripped apart. And so the students are losing their minds. The teachers and staff are going apoplectic. You've now got members of Congress like Jake Auchincloss. He's now running in front of the cameras saying that Trump is out of control. You've got Rebecca Rauch. She's now running around saying there's terror and fear and trauma all over Milford, all over the state of Massachusetts. If they can get Marcelo Gomez, they can get anybody. And so now he has become a cause célèbre on the left, saying that by arresting him, ICE is being cruel, ICE is being immoral, ICE apparently, according to them, is violating the rule of law. ICE now is showing it is a Nazi Gestapo-style agency, and this is why now anti-ICE activists are being energized all over the state, all over the country, to block and resist ICE everywhere they go. I'm not kidding. I've never seen anything like this. Now, as ICE pointed out in a press conference, listen now to acting ICE Director Todd Lyons about this Marcelo Gomez, this Milford teen that was scooped up by ICE. Roll cut 5, Mike.
They made a traffic stop on that vehicle, which was the father's vehicle. He was driving that vehicle. But like any local law enforcement officer, if you encounter someone that has a warrant, or like I said, is here illegally, we will take action on that. It happens every day. Every day. There are multiple 18-year-olds arrested. But yet, we are focused on this one. And I will say, his dad hasn't turned himself in yet, and his dad knows he's the target of it.
In other words, they're even saying, we really want the dad. We don't care for this kid. But the dad is now in hiding. He won't turn himself in, so he's going to let his kid hold the bag, just to show you what a scumbag his father is. But no, again, I said it. I'm going to play the cut. We wanted the father, but Milford wouldn't hand him over. Healey wouldn't hand him over. We wanted him in jail. You released him from jail. We wanted him from the courthouse. You released him from the courthouse. So we had to track him down in the community. And how do you track him down? Well, you go look for his car. We found his Jeep, his truck. And we pulled it over. Well, guess what? His son now is collateral damage. Now, he's here illegally. He's broken the law. He's a criminal by being here illegally. But had his father just turned himself in, had they just handed him over, then we never would have arrested his son. So by throwing this guy into the community and not cooperating with ICE, guess what? It ended up getting Marcelo Gomez arrested. More, trust me, a lot more next. Boston's Bulldozer, 617-266-6868. So, ICE arrests this 18-year-old junior high school student, and as Larry messaged me on Messenger, He's 18 years old and he's only a junior high school student. He's only a junior? Well, I guess when his dad brought him up here illegally, he was probably a few years behind. But let that go. So, you've got the students now walking out. They're protesting. Hundreds of them are in front of the Milford Town Hall. You've got the teachers protesting, the staffers protesting, the superintendent protesting, members of Congress, the governor. Healey's going nuts. The media on the warpath against ICE. He's a teenager. He's just a kid. How dare you arrest him? He did nothing wrong. So, Boston Globe, 4, Channel 5, Channel 7, Channel 10, Channel 25, WGBH, NPR, you name it. They're all at this press conference. And they are going after ICE. I mean, they want to go for their throat. And so, here's ICE Acting Director Todd Lyons. And he's trying to explain to them, saying, do you understand we arrested nearly 1,500 criminal illegal aliens? Do you understand the kind of dangerous, violent people that we arrested? And we didn't want to arrest them? We just wanted them handed over to us? But Massachusetts refuses to hold them. They won't respect any detainers. And so we had to chase them down on the streets because you don't want to hold them in a jail or in a courthouse? Like, do you understand how insane this state is? How you would rather release murderers and rapists than have us arrest them? Roll cut 5A. Mike.
Significant amount of the criminal aliens that are arrested by the teams were drug traffickers, sex offenders, murderers, and foreign fugitives trying to evade justice in their home countries. If sanctuary cities would change their policies and turn these violent criminal aliens over to us, into our custody, instead of releasing them into the public, we would not have to go out to the communities and do this. Officials all over Massachusetts would rather release sex offenders, fentanyl dealers, drug dealers, human traffickers, and child rapists back into the neighborhoods.
He's in disbelief. And he's like, and you're all going on to me about this 18-year-old illegal alien high school student. Now, hold on. Then it was the turn of the acting ICE field director for Boston, Patricia Hyde, on this Marcelo Gomez, this Milford team. And she's like, look, I don't know how to tell you this. We weren't looking for him. We were looking for his father, who's a dangerous criminal illegal. And we keep telling you, stop with these sanctuary policies. If you really don't want us to go after these, illegal aliens that aren't aren't like violent criminals, then just hand them over to us. Roll cut 6. Mike.
He was not the target of the investigation, but like we have repeatedly said, sanctuary policies put us in a position to go out into communities. Unfortunately, we had to go to Milford to look for someone else, and we came across him, and he was arrested. He's 18 years old. He's unlawfully in this country.
Again, I'm sorry. Call me crazy. What's the problem? He's 18 years old. He's an adult. He's a big boy. He's here illegally. And why shouldn't they arrest him? All illegals should be deported. Now, if you really don't want him, ICE probably wouldn't have nabbed him. But you don't want to hand over the father. So they were looking for the father, and they pulled over the Jeep, whatever, the truck, and they found the son. I'm sorry. The liberals have no one to blame but themselves. Listen now to Maura Healey. Now notice, does she ever cry for the victims? Never. People who are murdered, that 8-year-old girl that was raped by her illegal alien father, blindfolded and raped, does she cry for her? No. No. But she cries for the Milford teen. This 18-year-old illegal alien, this guy, Gomez, she cries for. Roll cut 7, Mike.
Over the weekend, we watched as it appears that this 18-year-old junior in high school, Milford High School, who's a honors student, a volleyball player, I believe played in the band also, lived here in Milford since he was 5 or 6 years old, was picked up while he was in a car with other Milford High students on their way to volleyball practice. Unless ICE has additional information that would substantiate that this individual had some criminal involvement, he should be released. By their own admission, they have also arrested several hundreds of individuals in Massachusetts and taken them away who do not have criminal records.
They're here illegally. So they're criminals to begin with. And had you just cooperated with ICE, those collaterals, as they're called, wouldn't have been scooped up. So if you really care about these collaterals, then had you just handed over his old man, as they asked, this kid would still be at Milford High. Now, look, let me just quickly lay my position, and then I want to go right to you. 617-266-6868. Look, I don't care if this guy's the next coming of Albert Einstein. I don't care if he's the greatest volleyball player in the history of the world. All right? I don't care if this guy is the next Charlie Parker because he's such a good he's so good with the band and he's so good with the horn. I don't care. You're in this country illegally. Your father brought you here illegally. You're an illegal. You're a criminal and a lawbreaker. Your father is a criminal and a lawbreaker. He's also done many other things. Now, if you're an illegal, you have to go. Period. Full stop. I don't know what there is to talk about. If I break the law, I'm arrested, I'm charged, I'm indicted, and I go to jail. In his case, he's not going to jail. He's just getting kicked back to his home country. If he's got a problem, take it up with his father. Dad, why did you drag me here illegally? And by the way, where are you? Because you're the one that they want, really, not me. So, and look, Healey gives the whole game away. We're not a sanctuary state. No, don't cut our federal funding. And then with the other side of her mouth, well, if he hasn't committed a crime, in other words, if he's not raped somebody or murdered somebody or been dealing fentanyl or drugs, then you should let these people stay, which is, you're saying they deserve amnesty. So of course you're a sanctuary state. You don't want to enforce the immigration laws of our country. And let me just say one final thing, and this needs to be said. If you cared half as much for the taxpayers, the citizens, the victims of illegal alien crime as you do for these illegals, you would be the greatest governor in the history of Massachusetts. Instead, this is what I just find amazing. When has she ever held a press conference to denounce illegal aliens who rape, who molest, who deal drugs, who murder, who prey on children? Never, never, never. And then, look at this. Suddenly now, oh, he doesn't have a criminal record. They shouldn't have arrested him. Well, why don't you hand over all those with a criminal record? That's ICE's point the whole time. You've got them. We know you've got them. We say, please hand them over to us. They're in your prisons. They're in your jails. They're in your courthouses. Instead, you won't hand them over to us, even when we give you detainer after detainer. But instead, you release them into the public because you don't want them deported. You don't want them removed. This woman, and I'm choosing my words now very carefully, this woman is a sociopath. She's a narcissist. Honestly, I think part of her, the elevator doesn't go to the top. I don't think her brain works properly. Clearly, there's a lack of a conscience. Her own citizens are being brutalized. And her answer is bring in more illegals. And I think in her own perverse mind, She thinks the more she stands up to ICE, and the more she stands up to Tom Homan, and the more she stands up to Kristi Noem, and the more she stands up to Donald Trump, that somehow this is going to launch her into the presidency in 2028. And I got news for her. This may play well with the moonbats and the crazy moonbats in the state. But to most sane, normal people, it'll work. You know what they see? They see a limousine liberal, an out-of-touch radical Democrat, a Marxist, who would rather defend criminals, murderers, rapists, and child molesters than victims and our own citizens. And if no one else in this state has the guts to say it, I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it. Maura Healey is a traitor. She's a criminal, and she's a traitor. And I don't know what Pam Bondi's waiting for. I don't know what Kash Patel is waiting for. I don't know what this woman has to do. And my fear is, I'm telling you, you can hold me to this. Someone's going to get killed. And I don't mean here or there, a murder here or a murder there. There is going to be a very serious crime. A mass murder, a terrorist attack, like we had at the Boston Marathon bombing, because of what this woman is doing to this state. She has blood on her hands, and she needs to pay. She needs to be held accountable, and she needs to go to jail. And so we used to say about Hillary Clinton, lock her up. Well, now I want to change that to Maura Healey. Lock her up. Agree, disagree. Let me ask all of you, what do you make now of the mass protests on behalf of this Milford High School student, Marcelo Gomez? Should ICE have arrested him? And should now, under this pressure, withering pressure from the media, from the Democrats, from the governor, should they release Marcelo Gomez? I say no. Deport him. He's getting what he deserves. Deport every illegal, but that's me. Andy in Milford. Thanks for holding, Andy, and welcome.
Hey, Jeff.
Hi,
Thank
Andy.
you. Hey, good morning. Thank you for taking my call. Yeah, Jeff. I must admit, I really wasn't aware of this situation that happened in Milford. I can tell you this, these people that are protesting, they don't speak for everybody in Milford. And back in 2022, I was involved with gathering signatures for the Driver's License for Illegals initiative. And a number of us worked on that locally here in Milford, and there was a real good conversation came across, and we had tons of people here in Milford signing that. Now, also, Milford is one of the towns where that initiative passed. So, as far as these people doing the protesting and yelling and screaming, I can tell you this, they don't speak for everybody in Milford. They certainly don't speak for me. And for anybody on the other side of this in Milford that might be listening, I want to ask this. Have you forgotten about Matthew Denise? Do you remember that tragedy that happened here in Milford? We need to be standing with the victims of this illegal immigration. And the responsibility for this situation really lies with the father of this kid. He ultimately bears the responsibility for the fact that his son was in this country illegally. And I am sorry, the law is the law. And folks, Take time to read your Constitution. Immigration enforcement is a prerogative of the federal government. So they're upholding the Constitution, folks, whether you like it or not. And this has to end. This has to end. I mean, we're either part of the United States or we're not. We're either Americans or we're not. And for many of us, our ancestors came here legally. They did not come here under this arrangement. And this must end.
Andy, I agree with you, not 100, but 1,000%. But let me just, to play devil's advocate, let me ask you, what do you say to the argument? Because this is Healey's argument. It's Attorney General Andrea Campbell, the state AG, her argument. It's the argument of the Boston Globe. It's the argument of MSNBC, of CNN. This has now become a cause célèbre all across the country. So the New York Times, so the liberal media, the Democrats, the governor are all saying, okay, but then go after the father. The father is the real hard-nosed, violent criminal. He's the drug dealer. He's the fentanyl dealer. He's the guy that ICE really wanted. This guy, yes, he's illegal, but he came when he was 5, 6 years old. His father brought him here illegally. He studies. He plays volleyball. He's on the band. Apparently, many of his peers at school like him at Milford High. So why punish the son for the sins of the father? What do you say to that argument, Andy?
Well, I say Governor Healey and the officials of this state bear the responsibility for not handing this father over. Moreover, they've actually crossed the line themselves and become guilty of obstruction of justice on the federal level, Jeff. That's what this is. This is obstruction of justice, and anybody that does that federally is in the crosshairs of a very serious federal crime. And we find out from you just today that Healey gives these anti-ICE protesters $50,000 to be obstructing these ICE agents. I'm sorry, the feds need to show up at the State House. They need to go right to the Kuhner office and inform the governor, you're being placed under arrest for obstruction of justice.
Amen.
And you are going to be prosecuted. And she needs to be marched right out of that State House in leg irons.
Andy, dynamite call. As usual, dynamite. Thank you for that call, Andy. Jack in the great state of Indiana. Thanks for holding, Jack. And as always, welcome.
Thank you, Jeff. I love you in a non-sexual way.
Thank you, Jack. What's on your mind, my friend?
I'm going to ask you a personal question, and as you always say, you don't have to answer. But number one, why does Grace not use your last name, Dr. Grace? Why does she not use your last name? And two, if an illegal alien hurt Ava or Aston, what would you do?
Well, to answer the first question, Jack, it's not because my wife is some kind of a radical feminist, or it's quite the opposite. It's that both she and I, as you know, were born and raised in Montreal, well, in the province of Quebec. And when you get married in the province of Quebec, your wife keeps her maiden name. She does not take the husband's name. And if you want the wife to take your name, you have to pay, I forget the amount because we got married almost 30 years ago. So I forget if it's $10,000 or $20,000. Anyway, it's thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. And when we first got married, we just didn't have that kind of money. So that's why Grace kept her name. And then over the years, she became a successful professional in her own right. And so, for example, she wrote at the Washington Times under her own byline, under her own last name. So we've talked about her going Voto Kuhner, Grace Voto Kuhner. But at this point, she's so well known as Grace Voto that that's the reason why she didn't take my name. Our two children are Kuhners, right? My Ashton is Kuhner and Ava is Kuhner. But it really was for financial reasons because of this crazy law that they have up there in Canada, at least in that province in Canada. So that's why Grace never took my last name. Now, as to if an illegal alien did anything to my children, look, it's hard to say what someone would do. Knowing my temperament, knowing my character, my personality, it would all depend if this illegal had been arrested and was going to be fully prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. If I felt that this illegal was going to go to jail for life or get the death penalty, then I would do nothing except curse and swear and be extremely upset about it. But God is my witness, and I'm no tough guy, and I don't claim to be a tough guy. I really don't. But if they were going to give him the Massachusetts treatment, or the California treatment, or the Illinois treatment near your neck of the woods, which is basically a slap on the wrist, or not even prosecute, or just a few years in jail, I'm telling you that illegal would be dead. I'm being very honest with you. That illegal is a dead man. Now, would I do it myself? Would I hire someone to do it? I'm just being honest with you. I don't know. But I'm telling you right now, if someone murdered or raped my children, I would pursue that person to the gates of hell. God is my witness. That's why I hope something like that never happens. Thank you, Jack. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, my sister Jen, who lives out in Arizona, just texted me this about 8 minutes ago in response to Jack's question about why did my wonderful wife, my better half as I like to call her, did not change her name. She kept her maiden name and didn't take on my last name, Kuhner. And I said it was, I don't know if it was 10,000. Anyway, so my sister said, no, Jeff, $5,000 to change the name back in the day. That was 30 years ago. I assume it's a lot more now. So that's the reason why. I mean, I like to joke that, my wife. It doesn't cost anything now? Son of a bee. So if we got married now, it would be free. Hold on. No, but you got married here. This is a law up in Canada. No, I know here. No, I know. Oh, I got you. Like that I know, but he's getting all upset. Like, she could have changed her name the whole time that you guys were here in the United States because it's free. No, but I was explaining, Sandy. She already had established a career. She published under her own name, and so it just got, it got complicated. So that's why we just, she decided to keep her last name, her maiden name. But anyway, yeah, it was $5,000 back in the day. That's up north in Canada. Okay, very quickly. Why are Healey and Wu so upset? This is from Jerry on Messenger. Well, Jeff, think about it. They got to come up now with 1,500 absentee ballot applications. They just lost 1,500 voters. No wonder Healey and Wu are angry. I mean, that is true. I'd be upset too if I were them. Son of a gun, there goes another one of our voters. Kathy in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Kathy, and welcome.
Thank you for taking my call.
My pleasure,
and
Kathy.
God bless you. Yeah, we were so fortunate to have you.
Thank you.
I just have a couple of points.
Yes.
Yeah, I have a couple of points. My first point is I have two sons. They both signed up for the draft. One went over, was in the sand for 2 tours of duty with the camel spiders in the boots. And my other, fortunately, didn't go in. So I'm wondering if, I don't know, I forget his first name, but I wonder if Mr. Baby Boy in high school, if he signed up for the draft, which I I don't think he did.
No.
And if those fellow students, those maybe a boy in the car, two boys, if they're 18, did they sign up and do they realize that he's going to be playing at home if they get drafted? The world situation, is horrible. Do they realize that he's going to be, resting, maybe suntanning? Who knows? But that's I think it's a good point that he's excluded from the draft. He's going to have a, nice life. His friends are going to go over and sign up anyway. So I think that's a point that I don't know if anyone's made today.
It's an excellent point,
and
Kathy.
Also,
and just to further what you're saying, the father of his, who's a drug dealer, a fentanyl trafficker, who drives a very nice truck. This is an illegal alien, lives very well, on welfare. So the father's on welfare. This kid is going to be on welfare, I guarantee you, probably collecting a salary as well. So he's going to get multiple streams of income. And if we ever go to war, you're right, he will never be drafted. Ever. Ever. So he's got a nice life ahead of him. That's why I find these people, these students protesting on his behalf. I'm like, I've never seen more brain dead people in my life. And the cost, he shouldn't even be in this country. The cost of housing him, of educating him, of feeding him, never mind his father. God knows how many people he's killed with the poison and the drugs that he peddles. And you're defending this punk? Now, I'm sorry. The whole thing to me is just so outrageous. And I'll tell you this, Kathy, if something ever happened to your wonderful boy, they wouldn't shed a tear for him. If your boy, God forbid, I hope it never happens, but he ends up like one of these homeless veterans after serving in Iraq or serving in Afghanistan, Healey doesn't give a damn. Living in some cardboard box, freezing to death, living hand to mouth. Healey won't hold a press conference for him. Healey won't be calling protests for him. But if you're an illegal, nothing but the best, Kathy.
And another point I'd like to make, too, is, all these people, kids, teachers, professionals, they have no religion. They've brought up that way. This foolishness is their religion, and that's why they're so... they're so charged up because this is the good they're going to do in life. They don't have any other good in their life. And this is wonderful. Climate change is another lie and fake religion. And these people have to wake up. And that's what I think is that their fire in them, that they're going to stick up for that. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And they have no other religion. And I think that's what's fueling their,
You nailed it. Kathy, you absolutely, you nailed it. It's a pseudo-religion. It's almost a pseudo-cult. And this gives their life meaning and purpose. And look at the lies they're being fed, Kathy. The propaganda. He's this poor 18-year-old innocent boy. He plays on the volleyball team. And ICE, they just snatched him. They pulled him over and they just snatched him. Like a bunch of Nazi Gestapo thugs. They don't know that his father is a criminal, that his father was wanted by ICE, that his father, God knows how many people he's overdosed, the drugs that he's unleashed into the community, that all they had to do was hand over his father and nothing would have happened to this punk. They don't know any of that. I bet you if I said Operation Patriot, they'd be like, what? I go, yeah, it was all part of Operation Patriot. It was 1,500 criminal illegal aliens. Do you know that many of those that were caught were murderers? That the Democrats allowed to go back into the streets? That many of them were literally child rapists? Convicted child rapists? One of whom was living next to a playground? And the governor knew and wouldn't do anything? Protected him? He had been deported and she allowed him to come back in? They'd be like, what? I go, yeah, you realize you're protecting murderers and rapists and child molesters. You realize that, right? They have no clue. No clue. Because they're thoroughly brainwashed. And because the media is lying to them. 9:33 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer, cleaning up the liberal bull. 617-266-6868. Okay, I'm just curious. Anyone out there in Kuhner country or just listening on the dial or on streaming, wherever, does anybody think that this Marcelo Gomez, this 18-year-old junior at Milford High School, that he should not have been arrested by ICE? In other words, when they pulled the truck over looking for his father as part of this operation, the biggest immigration law enforcement action taken so far, almost 1,500 criminal illegal aliens were nabbed. Does anyone out there think that when they pulled him over and it turned out it wasn't his father who was the real target, that they should have just let him go on to the volleyball practice that apparently he was going to? Or after they arrested him, because he is illegally in our country, with the outcry from the students, from Milford, from the teachers, the walkout, the big protest at Milford Town Hall, the governor, everybody, the media saying he's 18 years old, has no criminal record, unlike his father. Should he be released? Or do you think ICE is doing the right thing, saying, look, we were looking for the father, yes, but if we catch an illegal alien in the process of going after these criminal, violent illegals, then no, we're going to detain him, we're going to arrest him, and we're going to deport him. 617-266-6868. Mike in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Mike, and welcome.
Good morning.
Hi, Mike.
Jeff, this is a first-time caller, long-time listener.
Welcome, Mike. Welcome.
Thank you. So I was in town, Hudson, Massachusetts, last Thursday. I was conducting some business. I bought my two-family house back in 1988. And the next day, I get a call from my neighbor saying a whole bunch of vehicles pulled up in front of my house. A bunch of guys jumped out and surrounded the house. And she said they were wearing DEA jackets. So I said, you sure it's not ICE? And she said she didn't think so, but I kind of think it was. So I called Hudson PD to inquire if they got a heads up of what they were doing. And they said, I recognized the voice. It was a dispatcher. And he said, Massachusetts is a sanctuary state, which, I think federal law trumps state law.
Oh, no question.
So when I went to the house, I did see a camera up on the garage that wasn't there a week ago. So somebody installed a Wi-Fi camera. But if you have any connections and they want to reach out to me, I'd be more than happy to help. And as far as I know, I think I know everybody in the house, but there could be somebody there that I don't know. But I do know that nobody really speaks English.
Well, and Mike, just to further underscore what you're saying, Mike, look, Boston is very much, I'm telling you, it's like New York City. It's like Baltimore. It's like Chicago. It's like Los Angeles. In other words, and this is what ICE was saying at their press conference, they go, we could do this every day. Like really, just there's so many illegals. And they said what they find shocking is it's not just illegals who are collecting welfare, maybe working under the table, whatever. It's how many of them are in the drug trade, how many of them are into prostitution, sex trafficking. Many of them either rapists themselves or enabling rapists. Many of them are gangbangers, MS-13, Trend or Aragua. They go, it's how many violent criminals there are. And they're saying we could do this all day, every day. It's almost like an unlimited supply. And so, Mike, the question you have to ask, I think we have to ask ourselves is, how many did Healey let in? We know Biden let in 15 million at least. And we knew it was bad because she was welcoming illegals. But honestly, Mike, I thought L.A., if you were going to say to me, hey, Jeff, come on, what do you think are some of the big cities where they, massive illegal alien population? I'd say, well, Los Angeles, Chicago, New York City. There's other places. Yeah, there's some in Boston or greater Boston. Mike, honestly, there's an army of them. That to me is, when ICE came out and said, no, this is one of the biggest concentrations of illegals in the country. It's just, you take 1,500, you could take another 1,500 and another 1,500 and another 1,500. It's almost like there's no end. Mike, just to show you, okay, how dire the situation is and how serious it is. Trump is not happy with the pace of the deportations. There's about, this was a big one, 1,500. But Trump wants 3,000 a day. A day. Now, to get to 3,000 a day, you're going to need a lot more ICE, a lot more Border Patrol. A lot more federal resources and just bodies. But Mike, even 3,000 a day, that's 1 million a year. Now, okay, you're going to say 1 million a year is a lot. Let's say Trump does it. That's only 4 million after 4 years. Biden let in 15 million. So even if Trump goes full bore, maximum speed, pedal to the metal, as they say, 3,000 a day, Mike, which is 1 million a year. In the end, it's 4 million illegals. That still leaves us with 11 from Biden. I'm not even talking about the illegals from before Biden. So what, we're going to need J.D. Vance for 8 years? And he's got to do 4 million and then another 4 million? And then we're going to get close to undoing what Biden did? Like, in other words, this is what ICE is saying. They go, I don't think the American public understands the scale of how many illegals were let in and how many of them are dangerous criminals. Forget the fact that coming in is a criminal act, but that these are violent criminals. Mike, what say you?
It's just unbelievable. Just on how many people are in here that don't belong. And back to my neighborhood, there's a school not even 1,000 yards away, so I don't know who they're looking for. I don't even know who's in the house, because I went there recently and there was somebody in the house that I didn't know I didn't even rent to.
Wow.
And been there that long. I think the second floor people have been there just a year, and the people on the downstairs, they moved in into February. So I don't know,
No, we got to become very vigilant. And, we got to have cameras. We got to be on the lookout. And ICE has got a really hard, difficult job. And these anti-ICE activists are making it even harder, and they know it. And that's why I'm backing ICE all the way. I know they make some mistakes, and you're dealing with a massive problem. And I know they get false information and false tips, but in the end, I'll tell you this, I wouldn't want that job. It's a noble job. Please don't get me wrong. But it's a hard job. They get spit on. They get called names. They get targets on their back. If you want, I can play you another cut. The media is trying to embarrass them, by this arrest of this 18-year-old kid, this punk. And they're like, well, why do ICE agents have to wear masks? Are they a bunch of chickens? And the ICE field director turned around and said, do you know how many death threats we get? Do you realize that if these people are doxxed, if their name or identity is released, you've got drug cartels who are going to put a bounty on their head, or MS-13 or Tren de Aragua will kill them and their entire family? So these ICE agents are brave, they're tough, they're courageous, they're very patriotic. And honestly, what they're doing in this state, coddling and shielding these criminals, it's unforgivable. Unforgivable. Mike, thank you very much for that call. 617. It's shameful. Really, honestly, it's shameful. 617-266-6868. Okay, let me ask all of you. Did ICE do the right thing in arresting this Milford teenager? And should they release him? Your calls next. 9:50 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer. 617-266-6868. 6868, Sharon in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Sharon, and welcome.
Hi, Jeff.
Hi,
Thanks
Sharon.
for taking my call.
My pleasure.
Hey, I agree with everything that's been said, but I just thought a different way. Why don't we help ICE? Why don't all the young adults in the U.S. ask their parents if they came in illegally? This young man might have not known, and he's going on with his life. And when you become 18, you're an adult, and it could affect you the rest of your life. Your job, your social media, it's all out there that your parents were illegal. And if he was a good kid, which I don't know, then why would you want to harm that? Try to figure out how to be legal and get away from that.
Well, the sense I get, Sharon, and look, I don't know him. I haven't spoken to, let's say, peers of his at the Milford High School. I'm just going by media reports and what the students who've been interviewed by the media say. That they say he's an honor student. That's what they say. That he's on the volleyball team. That he coaches or is an assistant coach for the girls volleyball team. And that he's also part of the school band. So their argument is, well, he's really integrated into Milford High School. And they go, we get ICE wanted his father, who was a dangerous criminal. And he just happened to be in the truck, apparently with other players on the volleyball team heading to practice. ICE pulled over the truck because they thought that was the father who was driving it. And lo and behold, the father's nowhere to be found. But they go, okay, well, you're the son. He's 18. Marcelo, are you legal? And he said, no, I'm not. My father took me here when I was young. I'm illegally in the United States. So he knew he was an illegal. And just what I find surprising, Sharon, is you have Milford now, or at least the liberal community in Milford and across the state, is completely up in arms. You would think this is the greatest injustice in the history of the world. And yet, as I've been explaining all morning, and again, not one liberal has called or texted or messaged or emailed, which shows you what a bunch of liars they all are. I said, yeah, this was part of a massive operation. Again, the biggest immigration enforcement action ever. And they got nearly 1,500 illegal aliens, over half of whom are very dangerous, significant criminals, literally mass murderers. Okay, child rapists, child molesters, major fentanyl traffickers. Okay, men who've raped multiple women. And so this is what they nabbed. Now, they're going after his father because I think he was into the drug trade or the fentanyl trade. Don't quote me on that, but they were after him for, I believe it was narcotics. Okay. So they're going after him as part of this huge operation where they've nabbed all of these criminals. And no one says to themselves, why is the Commonwealth of Massachusetts protecting and shielding them? Like, hold on. Whoa. You knew about a convicted child rapist on the sex offender registry list, living right next to a playground where kids were playing? And Maura Healey refused to have ICE come in and arrest that person and give them any information whatsoever? So you've got mass criminality, the cover-up of mass criminality. You've got all these officials saying, no, release them into the streets. If they rape or if they molest or if they murder or if they keep pushing drugs and people are overdosing, who cares? But you go on about one guy who's an illegal alien, who should even be in our country, and whose father, look, ICE is even willing to come out and say, all right, we'll trade you the son for the father. How's that? And even then, none of the liberals are saying, okay, to the father, well, then come on out and trade yourself for your son. No. Sharon, after a while, I don't know what to say. I mean, when you're pro-criminal, you're now pro-murder, you're now pro-rape, and you're still a major political party, and liberals still vote for these people. I don't know what to say. A final word to you, Sharon.
Well, after learning about the 18-year-old, I think quite possibly if he knew his parent was illegal, then it's on him. He gets whatever he gets.
Oh, I think I agree. I think it's even worse. I think he knew his father was, they live well. I mean, they knew his father was a criminal. I mean, dealing drugs and narcotics and God knows what else. Sorry, Sharon?
I was just wondering how many other children know that their parents are illegal.
That's a great point. Great point. Sharon, thank you very much for calling and have a wonderful day. Really. Mike, can I squeeze one more in? I can't. Boy, Mike, you love the power trip, huh? Oh, do you love it? Oh, look at him beaming ear to ear. Look at this, huh? Drop the hammer on the Kuhner man. I'm just saying, if we got rid of Bill O'Reilly, I'm just saying, that'd be an extra 2.5, 3 minutes. I could grab at least one more, if not two more calls. I'm just saying. Bye-bye.